US President Donald Trump has said he is unsure whether Defense Secretary James Mattis is planning to step down from his post, but told a US news channel that the retired general might and that he regards Mattis as a sort of a Democrat. This marks the first time that the Republican president has publicly said anything negative about Mattis, who last month told reporters not to take seriously the reports that he may be leaving. The UN High Commissioner for Refugees has set up several reconstruction programs in Syria to help locals get back on their feet despite the ongoing fights in the country. In order to attract people back to their villages, the UNHCR is setting up bakeries that can churn out about 9,000 bags of bread daily. The UNHCR also did up a small business grant project to offer capital to skilled residents to restart their businesses. Germany's Greens are celebrating victory in the state election in which they more than doubled their share of the vote to 18.3%, coming second to Chancellor Angela Merkel's Bavarian allies who suffered their worst election result since 1950. Preliminary results show the Christian Social Union winning 35.6% of the vote in the Bavarian state election, losing its absolute majority for only the second time since 1962, an outcome sure to stoke fighting in the Conservative Party, already a difficult partner for Merkel in Berlin.
Bei rund 10%, mit viel Luft nach unten, vielleicht sind es auch 9%.
Britain's Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt has called for Riyadh to cooperate fully with investigations surrounding the disappearance of Saudi Arabian journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Hunt says if the leaders of Saudi Arabia had nothing to hide, then they should cooperate fully, adding that he had already spoken to the Saudi Foreign Minister about the issue. Khashoggi is a US resident and Washington Post columnist critical of Riyadh's policies. He disappeared on the 2nd of October after entering the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. Brexit negotiators have yet to seal a deal on Britain's divorce terms after a flurry of meetings in Brussels on Sunday to try to secure a draft agreement before Prime Minister Theresa May arrives for a summit this week. With less than 6 months until Britain leaves the European Union, Britain's Brexit Minister Dominic Raab has met EU negotiator Michel Barnier, and the ambassador of the 27 other member states were separately summoned to a meeting. Raab had raced to Brussels after the two sides jointly agreed that face-to-face talks were necessary on the big issues which are yet to be resolved. British Foreign Minister Jeremy Hunt has said that it was time for people to stand rock solid behind Prime Minister Theresa May over Brexit after a former colleague called on her cabinet to exert its authority to make her change her plans. In an article to a newspaper, former Brexit Minister David Davis has said that May's ministers should exert their collective authority to force a change in her Brexit strategy. Torrential rain brought by Storm Callum flooded streets and caused a landslide in Carmarthen, which killed a man in West Wales. The landslide pushed a lorry into a river and uprooted trees between Carmarthen and Cardigan, blocking the roads. Flood warnings were in place throughout the region as rivers burst their banks, flooding houses and streets, but ended on Sunday after water levels started to recede. Tropical storm Leslie hit Spanish territory, bringing heavy rains and winds of up to 100 kilometers per hour. Emergency services issued flood warnings for the north and northwest of the country, advising Spaniards to avoid driving in the storm. Leslie was downgraded from a hurricane before it reached Portugal. At least 300,000 homes were left without power after tropical storm hit Portugal's Atlantic coast during the night. Hundreds of trees were uprooted, mainly in coastal towns north of Lisbon, where the storm first reached the land, hitting power lines and blocking roads. A staff at a bank in South China got the fright of their life when a giant python suddenly crashed through the ceiling to interrupt their morning meeting. The 1.5-meter-long intruder made an unexpected entrance to the bank, with surveillance video footage showing the snake dramatically falling down on a group of bank clerks who had gathered for a meeting. The terrified staff members quickly dispersed in horror as the snake slithered its way around the room before nestling itself behind a sofa. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has threatened Hamas over a flare-up in Palestinian protests along the Gaza border and pledged to respond with very powerful blows. In the latest violence, Israeli forces have killed 7 Palestinians on Friday during the protests along Gaza border. The Palestinian protesters are demanding an end to an Israeli and Egyptian blockade on the narrow coastal strip, which is home to around 2 million Gazans. They also seek rights to lands that Palestinians fled or were driven from upon Israel's founding in 1948. A U.S. student barred from Israel under a law against pro-Palestinian boycotters has filed an appeal with its top court, which suspended her deportation pending a discussion of the case. Lara Al-Qasem flew to Israel on the 2nd of October on a study visa, but was refused entry by security officials who cited her role as a president of a small local chapter of Students for Justice in Palestine at the University of Florida. In airport detention since then, she has been contesting the exclusion with the backing of Jerusalem's Hebrew University, where she was due to begin a year-long master's program. A German bus carrying mainly teenage tourists to Italy crashed on a motorway near the Swiss city of Lugano, injuring 15 people, 3 of them seriously. The bus had roughly 25 people on board when it slammed into a road sign post. Lugano is the capital of Ticino, Switzerland's mainly Italian-speaking canton, which borders Italy. Nineteen people, including children, were killed when a truck carrying migrants crashed in the western Turkish province of Izmir. The mangled wreckage of the open-top truck lay toppled over in a canal some 20 meters below a highway, from which it apparently fell after crashing through a barrier. The truck passengers were foreign migrants who had reached a deal with traffickers to be transported by boat to the Greek island of Samos off the coast south of Izmir. It was not clear, however, where the migrants were coming from. A judicial source has revealed that French prosecutor has recommended dropping charges against 8 senior Rwandan officials, including the defense minister, who are being investigated over the death of President Juvenal Habyarimana in 1994. The probe opened in France in 1998 following demands by relatives of the French crew who died when the Rwandan president's plane was downed. It has led to major tensions between France and Rwanda over the past 2 decades. Iran President Hassan Rouhani has said the United States is seeking regime change in Iran and accused Washington of waging an economic war against Tehran. Tensions have ramped up between Iran and America after U.S. President Donald Trump withdrew from a multilateral agreement on Iran's nuclear program in May and reimposed sanctions in August. The U.S. is planning on imposing additional sanctions targeting Iran's oil sector in November. The death toll has risen to 20 people following two suspected suicide bombers that struck in the southern Somali city of WION on Saturday. A hospital official said that they have received 20 dead bodies and are treating 40 other people with injuries. Police officer says that the suspected suicide bombers blew themselves up in two restaurants on Saturday. The Al-Shabaab militants targeted the restaurants because they were frequented by government troops. A large number of devotees, including women, took out a march in different cities of southern India to protest against Supreme Court verdict, allowing the entry of women of all ages in the SABARIMALA temple. The protesters say they have been following the same culture for more than 3,000 years and hence they are confident that the Supreme Court verdict will be changed and will reinstate the ban on the entry of women aged between 10 and 50 years. Earlier on September 28, the Apex Court lifted the ban, saying restrictions put by SABARIMALA temple cannot be held as essential religious practice. Cases of swine flu are being reported in large numbers in India's southern state of Karnataka, more specifically the Hubli district in the past week. Various cases of people being affected with influenza virus and being admitted to hospitals have caused panic among the people of the state. 17 cases have been reported so far and confirmed till Sunday. Karnataka Deputy Chief Minister G. Parameshwara held a meeting with health department officials to discuss an action control plan to control H1N1 flu virus in the state. Chef Vishnu Manohar attempted to create a world record by cooking 3,000 kilograms of khichdi in a single vessel in India's western Nagpur city ahead of the World Food Day on the 16th of October. For the record, Manohar used 275 kilograms of rice, 275 kilograms of lentils and 150 kilograms of clarified butter. Hundreds gathered to watch Manohar's delicious feat as he spread copious amounts of coriander and butter in the vessel. The feat was completed in a vessel weighing 510 kilograms itself. Khichdi was selected as Brand India Food last year. With the beginning of the festival season, people in the firecracker industry are working day and night to meet the demands of the firecrackers across India. However, given the Supreme Court's ban on firecrackers to check the monstrous pollution problem in the country's national capital region, the industry is facing challenges to do their business with the most demanding client. Due to a sudden ban in Delhi and NCR, the traders are still left with a large stock of last year, and with the fear of a similar order this year, they are reluctant to buy another stock.